All right, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a live stream on Uno platform, on implementing Gamepad APIs in Uno platform. It's been a long time since the last live stream, so I'm happy to be back and happy that the pandemic is over and, well, basically over, and we are all getting it to a better place now. So let's get into some coding, shall we? So for today, I would like to focus on getting the Gamepad pull request into some manageable state, because it's been long overdue and there has been not much progress since I started. So I would like to review what we have to check what pieces we have implemented, and then try to make sure that it does run on WebAssembly, and clean up the code, add some comments, and then potentially look into implementing Gamepad APIs on Android, because that's I think the only platform from the main platforms that we are not supporting yet. So let's get into it. All right. So I have this Gamepad branch. I will probably rebase it on master, so we have the latest. Yep, this should be fine. So we can actually see what we have. So we have Gamepad enumeration, which is like checking how many gamepads are connected and getting the events on added and removed. And we have that running on Android, iOS, and on WebAssembly. Hello, Klepitko. So we have this on iOS, macOS, WebAssembly, and Android. Then we have also current reading, and that we probably have only on WebAssembly for now. So we should get it working on iOS, macOS, and Android. So, all right, let's get into the code so we can see what we have there. Okay, and let's find the right Uno, because I have multiple. And I will probably choose Android for starters. Good. And let's run it. We are on the brink of the release of 3.8 version of Uno platform. Actually, supposed to happen anytime soon, and it's gonna be a lot of new features that you can look forward to, especially the great work by Carl, Billy, and David Ray. It's the calendar view, calendar date picker, which is a very complex control, and it's actually the full port of the WinUI calendar picker. So the control has full support for all the different calendar types, for all the different specific culture, for all the culture specifics, for virtualization, for selection, and all of this, and it works across all the platforms. So that's very huge update, and something that you can look forward to. And it should make life easier for those who are porting applications from Windows to Uno platform. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I'll actually just start building the application first, because that takes a lot of time usually, and we can spend that time checking the code in the meantime. So let's see. Samples app and Android, and I will try to run it on my device so that we can actually connect some gamepads and see what happens if it appears, which it doesn't. Okay, right, now it should come up. Good. And let me select it. Oh, come on. Good. And let's build. So let's go into the code for now. Gaming input, and we have... Okay, so what I'm definitely missing here are the comments. I think I didn't add those originally, and this is definitely not commented. So let's see. So iGame controller. The nice thing about having the same APIs as Windows is that we can actually reuse their comments on the documentation on our APIs. So we can usually take just the same thing they have, but in this case, this probably needs some rewrite because this specifically mentions Windows and we have multi-platform. So I will edit that. But on Gamepad, for example, represents the Gamepad. It's very simplistic. Okay. All right. So on the source code, so we have, we have this sync locking mechanism to ensure that you can only subscribe to events. That the Gamepad actually starts listening only when we subscribe to it first, which is a good thing, but the code is just too complex, unnecessarily complex. And since I've wrote this, I've added a sync event something. So event sync. Okay, what's the name of it? Start event. I just have to remember. Start stop event wrapper. That's it. So this class is a helper class which takes care of waiting for the first subscriber to the event and then making sure that some action is started. And on the last subscriber, it actually then calls the last event, last method. So this way you can make sure that no one can, when someone subscribes, even if it's from multiple threads, you will always know that at least one handler is subscribed or no handlers are subscribed. So that's very helpful and will simplify the code a lot. And I will actually do that by checking how I use it on other places. So these are tests. I can see I haven't used it in the code yet. I have some branch where I have it in progress, but I would have to search for it. So start. So sensors. I would search for. Okay. Start, stop. Start, stop event. Yeah, that's the one I merged. Oh, okay. Adding start stop event wrapper to sensor classes. So this is the in progress branch and I can actually use that. So let's take accelerometer for an example. So what I need is a field, then initialization. So it creates those wrappers and then this whole block of code is replaced with add and remove call on that wrapper, which is still not that clean, but it's much cleaner than having this whole logic inside of add and remove. And it's actually used in many places, so it felt like a good place to like refactor and clean up. I'm just waiting for this to complete. And we will actually have a chance to try out presenting. I have this A-Power Mirror application that should allow me to connect my phone. So let's see. Good. Mirror phone to PC. So I know, hello. Good, so this is my phone. And let's run the samples application. Good. So I will go to, okay, just ignore this. Windows Gaming. And let's do animation because we don't have reading on Android yet. I have multiple gamepads here, so we can try one by one. So this is PlayStation 5 controller. If only I knew how to use it, but let's connect it. It's connected, and let's see. So good. We have one gamepad connected, and if I turn the controller off, which should be done this way, I hope, or not. How do you turn off a PlayStation controller? Great question. How to turn it off? Yes, I was doing that. Okay, so 10 seconds. Oh, nice. So we have the gamepad removed event, and it happened just, oh, I disconnected my phone. That was not smart. Okay. But this works, so that's nice. And let's try Xbox controller as well. It's gonna be interesting. Hello, Xbox. Xbox Series X controller. Very nice one. I really like the share button, it's very useful. Especially when playing Rocket League and when you want to store a nice goal quickly. Good, so I'm connecting the controller, pairing. And it should be paired now. So let's see what happened here. So if one controller, which is correct because I disconnected the PlayStation 1, I will turn off this controller by unplugging, and we should get 0 there. That's exactly what happened. Nice. That's good. And let's try something even more complex, and it will be 2 controllers at once. One will be the PlayStation controller, and why isn't this starting? And we have 2, so we have 2 controllers now, both connected correctly. All right, so this seems to work pretty well. And so the next step would be to improve the code to actually use the start-stop event wrapper. And we'll take the inspiration from that in progress PR, which is this one. Maybe take, for example, parameter, that's fine. So we need a field to store the wrapper. So let's do it here. Instead of these, we'll have, oh, right, something like this. I can remove this one as well. And it's just a plain old event handler. Okay. It's gonna be Gamepad edit. Yeah, Gamepad edit wrapper, and the same for Gamepad removed wrapper. It's also a simple event handler. That's fine. So we can remove this thing and just call Gamepad. Oh, right. It's static. Static. Yeah, and we can call Gamepad edit wrapper dot add handler value and Gamepad remove wrapper, remove handler value. So that's a lot of lines removed right now. And the same thing we do for removed event, except it's gonna be called, oh, right. Not here, but here. Good. So instead of invoking the event, the delegate, we are going to invoke the wrapper. There is also invoke. Oh no, it's actually the event is exposed like this. So event invoke, and the same thing is gonna be happening here. Nice. And the nice thing is that we are doing this for all the platforms at once. So this code will be done once for all the classes, for all the platforms, and we don't have to write any platform specifics. So let's add some comments to make it nicer. Okay, so represents a gamepad. Who would know? We have properties. So gamepads enumerable. It's read-only list actually. Read-only list. Then we have headset. We don't have that. It's wireless. So these are not static. These are instance ones. But we definitely have get current reading, but that's probably stored in the platform specific code. And we have events. So signals when connected and removed. Like developers will probably not encounter those comments too often because they are actually developing against UWP first and then running on other platforms in Uno platform. But still, it's nice to have them, just to have it clean and self-explanatory. And also, in the future, we can actually generate documentation from this, and that's going to be helpful. Okay. So let's check if we broke something in the platform specific classes, but I don't think so, except for this. So we are using this to check if we should attach or detach the device listener. And in this case, we are going to do it by checking something like, so you're checking the event itself. Maybe it would be nice to have like a simple property that would tell you that something is subscribed. So let's add it here. So if we have any handler subscribed, then this will return true. Or maybe it has subscribers is a nice name. And we can then do has subscribers or and gamepad edit. Subscribers. This is more self-explanatory than the comparison to now. Good. That's nice. We probably have to do the same thing on the other platforms as well. So in this case, we have it. It seems we don't have it, which is odd. But this is called from end gamepad removed. So it should be called from the end methods there. This is definitely wrong because we always remove the listeners, even though we have to check if we have added and removed. Okay. Oh, right. It's actually right because on iOS there are two different notifications. One for connecting, one for disconnecting. Whereas on Android we have just one listener for both of the events. So that's why we have a check here to make sure that either of those two is connected, and we don't do anything. But in this case, we just unsubscribe in all cases. And let's see for WebAssembly. So for WebAssembly, we have also the same thing because we have two different events. So gamepad edit and gamepad removed. So that's nice. That's making our lives easier there. Okay. All right. That seems reasonable. So the problem now is that we are not calling these start gamepad edit and end gamepad edit methods, which is quite problematic because this way the code doesn't do anything useful. So we need to add a static constructor. And this constructor will actually initialize those start-stop event wrappers. And it has a number of parameters. So the first one is the first subscriber. So on first subscribe, we actually call start gamepad edit. On the last subscriber, we then do end gamepad edit. And there is, do we need a shared lock? And the answer is we probably do, because on Android, the two events are actually connected with each other. So we have to know that only one can be unsubscribed or subscribed at the same time. So we do private object sync lock. And we had it there before, but I actually didn't realize that we will need it still. And it can be read-only. And actually these two can be read-only as well. Okay. And we have sync lock here, and the same for this one. start gamepad removed and gamepad removed and sync log. Good. So this is initializing the start stop event wrapper, and we will get those calls to start gamepad edit and gamepad edit automatically when some subscribers are subscribed. So we can actually now test it on phone. Let's run it. Hello Academy Impossible. If you have any questions on anything Uno platform, you can write them in the chat and I will answer them. Or I will try to answer them. So while we're waiting, I will dig into the gamepad documentation on Android, because we don't have that. Like we have the connection and disconnection of devices implemented, but we don't have the actual reading of their state in code. So that's something we should probably try to do. I have to actually check the code to see what we do there. So when there's this method which retrieves the gamepads, and for each of those gamepads it gives us a gamepad instance, which is then tied to a given device. So in our case, we have a native device ID that comes from Android, and that ties our managed Uno platform gamepad to the one that's coming from the native code from Android. And that will be useful because using this device ID, we'll be able to map the actual reading changes from Android to our gamepad. Let's see. Support game controllers. All right. The fun with Android is always that you have multiple different ways to do a single thing, and then you have to actually decide which versions of Android you want to support and how to most effectively juggle those versions and make sure that it actually does work correctly. So let's check all those things. So support multiple game controls, which we already in some form have. So they are using also the device IDs method to get the device IDs of the controllers, and getting multiple control input. So they are checking if an event occurred, identifying using the device ID, which is the integer that we have there, and yeah, they update the actual state of the gamepad and rendering. So seems like handling multiple different gamepads is nothing else than just checking which caused the event and then showing what happened. Let's see, we have the application running now. Enumeration. So, oh, I just killed it using the controller. So the gamepad count is 0, which is not really nice because it's not correct. Why do you have no gamepad connected, even though both are connected? Let's see the code. So I'm getting the. So there are two different gamepads connected. This is interesting. So apparently we're returning 2, but it's not showing in the UI for some interesting reason. Gamepad count is 2, but it's not updating. Oh. Tell me why. It must be something with the data binding, probably. Oh, right. So we actually don't have no. But yeah, it's there. It's raising the property changed event. So why is it not actually showing there? That's a riddle. Like this one is okay. Let's try to disconnect one of those gamepads just to see if that does something. Okay, so it's disconnected now. We're still getting nothing. Okay. Well, that's weird. Seems like the UI was not updating because there was something wrong with the application itself. Like the binding didn't apply. What is this? Some notifications. Yeah. Okay. But now it's working, so let's say it was a general issue that's not related to gamepads, because we saw the number was correct, and just say it worked for now. But it was definitely weird. I think there might be something wrong with the samples application in this case. Right. So we saw that we didn't break anything. It seems like all our code still works. Oh, actually, we didn't test the removal of the gamepad. Let's test that as well. So we have the complete coverage. So Windows gaming enumeration. We have 2 gamepads connected. And we observe removed event, and I will turn off the PlayStation 1. And voila, it's disconnected. And now let's turn it on. And it's back. Nice. So that's perfect. That works. So that was a first big refactoring there. Maybe it warrants more refactoring in the platform-specific classes, but for now that's good. And let's try to check the actual handling of input events on Android. So let's go here into handling controller actions, and let's see how it's done. So the weird thing on Android as compared to iOS, macOS and WebAssembly is that they don't have a specific API for Gamepad, and they just push those events through to generic motion and key events, which is like, it's weird, but I guess it works for them. I would be afraid that the performance wouldn't be that great, but hopefully it's fine. And let's suppose it is, because I think Xbox Cloud Gaming is also using this, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Let's start with something simple. I would say we should implement the buttons first. For example, A button, to see if we can actually trigger A button press on the controller, or X button on the PlayStation controller. So generic motion events, which is joysticks, should be going through the generic motion event, and the buttons should go through key event dispatch. And we will actually capture those at the level of activity, which we have there. We have a root activity for everything for Uno platform itself. So let's go there. It's called application activity, and we should be able to handle those events there. So it's called on key down and on key up event and generic motion event. I would like to get some intelligence here on key down. So for now, Uno platform doesn't have keyboard handling yet. It's coming in a very simplistic form for focus management, which is something I wanted to get merged for 3.8 release, but I couldn't finish it in time because of the verifications that needed to be done by Microsoft. But there is a PR. It's a pretty huge PR actually for focus management, and it actually contains identical implementation of focus management as in UWP and WinUI. So you have both a tab and shift tab focus, plus also XY focus, so you can use arrow keys to move between elements, and the focus should follow correctly. And it's a very nice thing to check that the implementation on UWP side is actually quite complex, and there is a lot of edge cases, a lot of special handling needed, and it's something worth looking into if you are interested in how keyboard navigation in applications works, especially for the XY navigation, because there is something like each element is projecting a cone, which tests for visibility of other elements. So you don't navigate to something that wouldn't be visible if you were on that button, like standing on that button. You don't navigate to something you wouldn't see from there, only to something that is visible in your field of vision, basically. There's a lot of mathematics involved, a lot of vector calculations, so quite complex, but it actually does work, and it's quite nice to use. Okay, so let's get back into that code, and let's do first I will just call the base, so that we don't capture any events. We just will forward those events to our gamepad handling, but everything else will still work without any changes, which is surely good. So we'll do this, and before we send our event to the other handlers, we will check if the event is coming from a gamepad. And how can we check that? So we have, well, like I guess if the code isn't slow, which it shouldn't be, we can just forward all the events into our gamepad to just check if the event is relevant somehow, and if not, it will just let it go. So let's make a internal static on key down, and what's the signature there? Key code and key event. Nice. So we go into the event and we get the device ID. And now we need to check if there is any gamepad which matches our existing gamepad. The question is, if no one has triggered this gamepad retrieval, will it actually contain any gamepads? It will not. So that's a bit tricky. This method is called from where? Attach input device listener. Oh, right. We can actually check if the input device is a gamepad. So let's do that there. Device should be the input device. So if the input device is a gamepad, we have this check there. Yeah, so we should handle the case if the input device is actually null. So I will make it nullable and check if it's true explicitly. So if it's null, it will evaluate to false there. And I will make this whole file nullable enabled. Enabling nullables in your code is usually very useful. It helps really uncover lurking issues which we wouldn't usually notice. Oh, why did it say it's not needed if it's needed? The Visual Studio IntelliSense is somehow faulty sometimes. But okay. It's gamepad. So in this case, if the device is gamepad, we need to make sure that we already have the instance for the gamepad. So we'll check if gamepad cache any, or maybe like this. Try get, or yeah, we have this method try get or create gamepad, which takes device ID and makes sure that we have that instance created. So I will use that, and it's called device ID. So if we don't have the gamepad instance yet, it will just create it. Gamepad So, and now we have to somehow store the fact that a given key is down. And for that we will need several things. So first off, we'll need a way to map the key codes to the actual button presses. And also we'll need a place to store the current state of the gamepad. So let's handle the first thing first. So gamepad reading is the class that's used for the storage of the state of a gamepad in UWP. And we will just have a instance of this struct here inside of our class. So this way we can just modify it when some changes occur. Let's see how it looks. So it's a simple struct which has multiple different fields. In this case, it's not properties, it's just fields. And it should provide all information about our gamepad. So the interesting thing is that for buttons, we have just an enum, which is a flex enum. So we can combine multiple different buttons at once. By default, we have none, but we will be able to modify it properly in this case. So yeah, let's make a simple method that will map key codes. And I will just map the first one at first to see how it works. So I'll map the A button on the gamepad. Gamepad buttons. So key code to gamepad buttons, and key code will be the parameter. I don't like this that the class is called key code with lowercase c, and the variable is called key code with uppercase c. So I will just make it the same here. Okay, so we have this, and we will do some kind of switch there. I'm not generated the switch, but just explicitly map those ones which are interesting. So in case gamepad. Okay, and now let's see how those buttons are actually called. So we have a D-pad, left, upper, down, and center. But there should be also like a button or something like that. Oh, right. Here we go. Button A. Come on. This is exceptionally slow today. We can actually use the new syntax here. We can turn this whole thing into a switch expression. Let's do it after. So return gamepad buttons A. And for the default case, we'll just return none. Nice. Much nicer now. And we can actually do this whole method as an expression here, which is completely beautiful. Nice. So key code switch, we go for button A and we map it to a button. Let's do the other buttons as well. It's gonna be easy. So let's do button X, gamepad buttons X, and the same for B, and the same for Y. This is nice. And let's do D-pad. So D-pad. So there is a center button for D-pad. That's interesting. So okay, so they have specific enums for like combination of down and left, down and right. So we'll have to do that as well. So down, D-pad down. Up, up, left, left, and right, right. Okay, we just turn the lights a little bit down. Nice. Okay. So let's have some sensible order. Let's go clockwise there. Up, right, down, left. And now the combinations. So key code and D-pad down left will be gamepad buttons, D-pad down, or gamepad D-pad left. And the same thing for all the other directions. Right, and there we have up left. Well, let's start up right, or up left, up left, and up right. And it's gonna be up right. Good. I will just move these two up so that we have the clockwise order. So left, right, left, right. Ah. Right, left. That makes sense. Okay, all these have been implemented. So what other buttons do we have on the controller? So we have D-pad, that's covered. Then we have X, Y, Z, what is this? X, Z. Oh, okay. So thumb left. So there's a special button on the thumbsticks, which is recognized when you press on it. So left thumbstick. Button thumb left. Why it's unreachable? Oh, it was just IntelliSense very slow. Why is it so slow now? OBS eating a lot of GPU, but it shouldn't be the problem. The problem is that we are on the edge of the abilities of Visual Studio currently. I'm really looking forward to the 64-bit version. It's gonna be so much better. Okay, so button, thumbstick left, right. Then we have the bumpers. So those are R1, left one. It's interesting. So L1 is the left bumper, left shoulder, and this is the right shoulder. Is button. Okay, so they are mapping. Interesting. There's also R2, but it's not even listed on the documentation. I'm not sure what that means, but it's not here. So let's just ignore it, shall we? Okay. So do we have any other buttons there? Left thumbstick, shoulder. Okay, paddles. Okay, there is a lot of those. A, B. We have all these. The menu button, which is on the right side. It's not listed here either. Button start. Okay. Menu. Button start. And there is also display menu, so it's button select. Sure, that's okay. It's very interesting. Which one is actually the, like, this should be the display, the left button on the Xbox controller, but we'll see if it actually is correct. Oh, display. No, what's the name? View. View is the name. And button display. What? Oh, select. Good. And from here we have the remaining buttons. What are those? So Gamepad buttons. Let's see the enumeration here. Paddle 1, paddle 2, paddle 3, paddle 4. Not really sure which one is. Oh, we actually can test on samples app. I probably don't have the latest version here. I have to switch to Windows to test it. Ah, right. Don't have it. But we should probably map some of these as well. If those paddles are not actually the... oh, that's actually possible. Those could be the special paddle buttons on the Elite controller. Let's see. Gamepad buttons. Aha, I see. So these were added later, and that seems like the time where the Elite controller was actually released. So it's quite possible that these are referring to those paddle buttons. I'm not sure if we will be able to map those, if actually Android does recognize them somehow. So we'll for now leave this as it is and improve it later. Right. So we have this mapping done. button. We will do the key code to gamepads key code, and we have to do this, make this static. Key code to gamepad. So the IntelliSense is terribly slow. Key code, and we will take this button and basically take the existing gamepad reading. So gamepad reading. So we take the whole reading, we modify the buttons, reading buttons, and we will do a bitwise OR, which will add that button to our current state. So this will add it, and now we just store the reading back to the gamepad class itself. Right. So this is good, but we probably need to trigger an event there, because the reading changed. And is there a reading changed event? No, so there are events. Oh, there is no reading changed event. There is just get current reading, and we can actually handle it quite easily here. So gamepad reading. And we'll just simply return gamepad reading for that current instance of the gamepad. So this will be always up to date, because we just modify certain properties on it, but we don't actually change it. So change the instance, like we change the instance actually. We don't. We set it here. So we set it here, but it will always be just a simple change of the enumeration state there. Shouldn't be anything too problematic. Actually, we can just make it even simpler here and do... It's a field, so this shouldn't be a problem. We'll just modify it in place, like this. Which will probably save us some copying of the structure itself. It shouldn't be anything major, but probably should be more efficient. So what does it complain about? It's not having any return. That's fine. We can just make it void. And this will take care of a key down event. Let's do the same thing for key up. On key up. And the only difference here will be that we will not add that button to our gamepad buttons reading, but we will subtract it. So this should be like this. Am I right or not? How do we remove flag from... how do you remove flag from an enum? Okay. So it's complement. That means that so we can OR with a complement of that button. That makes sense. So we'll take the button, make a tilde and complement with and do OR with our current state. This should remove the button from the reading. Good. Alright, so that would be key up and key down handled. And now we just have to actually call it. So Gamepad. Where do we have you? Gamepad. Come on. Right. Gamepad on key down. A. And I will just call it nicely with lowercase c. And the same thing will happen for the key up event. Right. Like this. Let's see what happens now if this actually does properly work. Let's start the build and we'll wait for it. So by the way, there's been a big cleanup of the backlog of issues in Uno platform. So we now have all the issues properly marked by their difficulty, by whether it's a good first issue or not. So if you search for starter, you can see all the easy issues that should be easily approachable and should be possible to do them quite quickly or relatively quickly. So there's actually now 179 of those issues. So if you want to take a step at implementing something new in Uno platform or helping us fix some issues, then that's definitely great place to start. There are also documentation issues or some other kinds of issues which are not coding specifically. So you can even try that. It's not a problem, and it's gonna be a big help because documentation, for example, is always something that we want to improve. And there is also a label good first issue, which is specifically for those issues which are easy to start. And if you're not familiar with the code base, that's a great place to start because those issues should be approachable even from the standpoint of someone who doesn't yet have knowledge of how Uno platform works inside, and you can just start learning about it as you go, and then actually get help from someone from the team if you get stuck. So that's nice. And I'm trying to check if the 3.8 release is already out, but it's not yet, so we'll have to wait for it a little bit. Okay, so we have a build issue here. What failed on us? Oh, that's a lot of errors. But it's usually something smaller here. So yeah, alright. We added this new public method, but we didn't remove the one that's auto-generated for Uno platform. So it should be right, this one. So I will just do false here, and it should be enough. Hopefully. Okay. Again a failure. What now? Ah, right. We added nullable reference types, but we didn't update the code in all places to actually take care of it. So in this case, we can get a null array. So I will do array.empty. So we have to check for null there. Here we have get system service, which will give us. All right. Oh, we have reached the end of the playlist. Let's try something nice there. Good. All right, so okay, so this can return null, and that's because this can be null actually, but it can return null. So let's just ignore that fact and make this. It can be null at the beginning, and if it's still null after we this is better. So if it's still null after this, then we will just throw an exception, because it means that we cannot access the input manager, and that's definitely something wrong there. Like something instrumental instead. Ah. Better. Alright, if it's null, we throw an exception, and that should handle the edge case. Alright, so when we ensure that the manager is initialized, it cannot be null. So we'll just ignore this and use bank to say it's not null. We know it's not null. Then we have the listener, which is definitely nullable. And then we have the gamepad, which should be nullable. So let's do it. And finally here we are adding. So if we went through with this, then the gamepad is not null, so we can use bank to say that. Then the same thing here, and the same thing here and here. There's a way to actually say that that parameter is not null when it returns true, but I don't really remember how to do it right now. If you have any ideas, then post them in the chat, but for now I can keep it like this, and let's see what happens if we run it on the phone. All right. Actually, we can see how we can see the new controls in action in before we get the release out. So let's go to our in progress site. So you should see here the latest version of no platform. Gallery platform as well. And there should be a calendar. It's not there yet. Maybe it's in some folder like this, WinUI. There should be a sample for the calendar picker, but I don't know where. Maybe date picker, date picking. Ah, calendar view. We have calendar view, and that's a beautiful calendar running in the browser. It's so cool. So cool. Completely fully featured as well. Fast and beautiful. It's exactly what you would see in a UWP application, but it has the complete features in there. And there is also date picker using calendar view. Not sure if that's already implemented. Selection mode. Yeah, you can select multiple dates. Yeah, so cool. It's a very cool control. It actually has a lot of lines of code. I think the PR was something like 30,000 lines of code, because you would say calendar itself is easy, but to have every single feature, every single culture specificity in there, that's a lot of work. That's definitely not easy, and it's clear that the guys were very, very successful porting this. Okay. The Android builds are very slow, but we knew that. That's a classic Android. Okay, we have this still running. That's good. All right, so my controllers are connected, and let's see what happens if we go to the page that shows the current reading. So in Windows, gaming, current reading. So currently we have nothing, but when I press something, all right, that's cool. Oh, I just closed the application, but okay, I'm reading just the first connected controller, but that's not a big deal. I will turn off the PlayStation 1. And it's off. Let's go to gaming. I'm not sure why the application crashed there, but I closed it actually, so that's why. Current reading. Let's do A button. It's saying nothing. Whoa, that's interesting. There's a clear clash between us trying to read something from controller and Android doing its own handling there. Samples app. Let's kill it. Second try. Windows gaming, current reading. I will press D-pad left button. So we have it there. Yeah, okay. I don't like the -1 there. That's definitely something that doesn't really make sense. It doesn't change after I first press it, which is not nice either. Okay. So what do we do now? Well, the first thing we can do, for now at least, is to actually handle the gamepad. So I will make the gamepad key up and key down return a boolean. And if we handle the gamepad button, then we will properly handle it. So we'll return here button not equal gamepad buttons none, because this way we will handle it only if we actually got a button that we could handle. And if we don't handle it, we just fall back to false. And the same thing will happen here. So now, what definitely doesn't work is our trick with this tilde thing. So because we are doing OR, and we don't want to do that, we want to do AND here. And that's because we want to unset the specific button, and the specific button will get us, the bits of the specific button will be 0 in a tilde button, and all the other bits will be 1. And that's the reason why we got the -1 there, because we had actually added invalid bits for the rest of the int size, which is definitely not correct. So there was no value that matched the given state. So this is much better now. This is much better, and we should be able to now handle the keypad, the key down and key down events faster. So we'll say return true in case we handle it, and the same thing here. So if we handle it in gamepad, we return true. So this way we'll short circuit the rest of the handling and will prevent the system from actually doing its own thing with the gamepad handling. All right, that seems reasonable, and we'll actually see what it does. Standing tables are the best. still no release. I was really hoping that it would happen during the stream, not after, but it seems it will happen after. But definitely, if you're listening to this after it was released, then please try out Uno Platform 3.8 because it's a great release. There's a lot of performance improvements, and that's quite visible in most applications, because Jerome actually improved performance on some base low-level APIs like resources and so on. So the end result is that the whole thing runs much more smoothly, and everything happens much more quickly. So you will notice those performance improvements definitely. And that includes the calculator application, which will get an update as well. So look forward to that. So come on, do we have the slowest build ever or something? I'm really hoping that these changes will improve the experience, and we'll actually see the correct output here. Because if we do, then the only thing left will be to implement a generic motion events. That would be the thumbsticks and the triggers, and we should have a fairly working gamepad reading on Android. Okay. Right. Let's go. Fingers crossed, and let's go. So I have only one gamepad connected as the Xbox One, because I know exactly which buttons are which on this one. Unlike PlayStation. So let's go to gaming, current reading, and so I'm not pressing anything. Now press A, and we have the A button, X button, nice. So let's do a top right D-pad. That's not working for a reason. That's interesting. Like, even though I'm pressing D-pad, it's not doing anything. So let's debug this. Okay. So it's not getting there. The event is not even captured. So thumbstick press is captured, but the D-pad is not captured. Why is it not captured there? That's pretty weird. Well, left shoulder, right thumbstick, left thumbstick, both thumbsticks. That's nice, but the D-pad is not working. And let's try to figure out why it's not working. So D-pad. Oh, so that's the trick. So a gamepad, there are actually two different device types. But still, it should be happening there. Okay, let's try to search for it. D-pad not handled. That's so weird. Why all of the others are working but not this one? It's like something else is also handling those events. But as I said, we don't have any actual handling of key events in Android currently, so. Oh, there is a base activity. That's interesting. But that one is not getting called either. It seems like the system has just handled that button press for us and doesn't let it out. It's very curious. Let's try to check if the gamepad is recognized on the website. As you can see that those buttons are recognized normally, so. What is the trick there? What is the trick there? I'm really not sure what's happening there. Like, something is happening because it does recognize that I pressed something. It highlights the hamburger menu, which sounds like the system is handling that button, but why is it handling the button when I want to handle it myself? Like, it worked for the other buttons, but not for the D-pad. But why is it not happening? Aha! That's interesting. So that means that the focused element is getting the D-pad button, but not the activity? Um, They say it's set focusable from in touch mode, which probably worth checking out. We have Focus Manager on Android, and we are setting the view as is focusable. Maybe it will do something if we set it as focusable in touch mode. So there should be methods on a of focus native, and we okay. Oh, okay, so that's implemented in the base native library. No view group. Should be like request focus there. Not here. Okay, so that's request focus from touch. Okay, let's try this one. Yeah, that should be there. And for now, that should be enough for us to focus do touch-based focus, and not the full focus that would include keyboard. We'll see if it helps or not. But definitely, this is a tricky thing. Maybe it will be needed to actually handle the key events, not only on the activity level, but also on the focused view level, so that we get both sources handled. But that's gonna be tricky, because we would have to manually make sure that the focused element events are subscribed, but unsubscribed as well when needed, so that we don't create any memory leaks and so on. So yeah, that's gonna be a tricky one. Let's hope for a simple solution for now. At least this could actually work, and would, if it prevents Android from handling the D-pad events, then it's enough for us. So okay. Let's wait for it to compile. Okay, so deploying already. So let's go. All right. Let's see what happens. So we have oh, the application stopped. Oh, it's starting still. It's still starting. Okay. Launching. Come on. Okay. So Windows, gaming, current reading. Okay. So it's not helping, unfortunately. You're still not getting any events there. No, that's not working. So that really means that we'll have to handle those events on both places, on the activity and the view itself. Which is not gonna be easy, for sure. And focused. Down. I think I'm not the only one who's having this problem. Huh. Whoa. That seems like a very complex solution. Okay. It's said that Android has always something special. But it is what it is. So we'll have to come up with a solution that will be that will allow us to handle it. Yeah, that's it. Like, if set content view is called passing in a view and that view has set focusable true called on it, then the key events will bypass the activity itself. Yeah. On the other hand, if your key down is in the view, you haven't called. Right. Well, this will be a tricky one. I think we'll have to keep it for the next stream. For now, we should at least be happy that we have the key down events handled properly for the other buttons. And we will next time we will continue implementing the motion events. Those will also be the triggers and the thumbsticks and their orientation. And also we will do the key buttons. But for now, that will be all for today. I thank you for joining and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.